And I'm going to see if there's a live thing going on the Facebook page right now.
Yeah, because it ain't showing anybody's looking at this right now. It's still 0.
Here, we're going to do this.
Now I got 1.
One second, let me check one thing. I'm not a pain in here. Technology.
Oh, people coming on.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can pull a link off that really quick and then put it on all the Facebook pages if I can get a link to copy.
Sounds good, brother.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thanks, Robbie. Let me know.
All right.
Bye.
Going on, guys. Like always, the very first one, there has to be something wrong. I'm telling you right now. I'm glad I got a meeting tomorrow because we're going to change some stuff up. Wow. Don't you love it when you pay for something and they change it and they don't even tell you they change it? But it's all good. We're going to talk about food plots here in a little bit, so that's all that matters. Mark Coleman, Jeffrey, Anthony, Doug, old John C. It's good to see you guys on here. Old Cody Jarrett. Talking about that ring? I got to say, I love it too, man. How's everybody doing tonight? We'll let a few people join on here. I don't know how this is going to go just because of what Restream's doing to us right now, but we're trying to get it worked out, getting on all the channels. Thank good the marketing group our marketing agency will actually answer their phone after hours. That's a good thing. I'm just a dumb old food plotter. I don't know nothing about this stuff. You're lucky I can turn a computer on. I bet you that made old Cody Jarrett laugh right there because he knows how I am with these things. I have a hard enough time looking at a deer picture on a damn computer. Oh, Mark Lewick, good to see you on here, bud. Been good talking to you on Messenger. No, Robert, I didn't forget about it. The software we use to do this, we found out like 5 minutes before the video aired that they changed settings on us and it wouldn't allow it to jump on my computer. It kept blocking it. So I had to get a hold of the marketing agency and they got her worked out for me. They're doing good. Let a few people jump on and we'll start talking about this. This is probably going to be one of my favorite episodes of the season, probably. Number one, we're talking mostly about clovers. And again, the do's and don'ts of frost seeding because, man, frost seeding can be one of the things that can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. So, and when I mean bad thing, it could cost you money and not get anything in return. So try to help some people out here. My phone has been blowing up since probably, it was way back in deer season, probably end of November. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was first gun season, which had been the third weekend of November. I remember getting a text message from somebody wanting to know if it's too early to frost seed. So that's kind of what sparked this here is all the questions I've been getting asked here lately. Seeing Facebook, all the people frost seeding in some areas that they probably shouldn't be frost seeding in right now. But Mother Nature has been kind of a mess too. So it all depends on her. All right, you guys are flying on here now. Again, we'll do this kind of like we always have done. I will talk about a few things. You guys got questions, throw them in there in comments, man. I'll try to answer everything I can. Then I'll talk a little bit more, then we try to answer some more questions. I'd rather answer your questions than you guys just sit here and listen to me gab all night, because when I get started on something like this, I'll probably just run with it. So it's nice to break it up a little bit. So ask away. Rob, I hear you. Looking forward to spring planting. This weather we've been having the last couple of days here in central Illinois makes me want to plant. I can't believe it was like 65 degrees here yesterday. And a week ago, it was, what, -10. Rick Stillman, good to see you on here. I'll tell you what, let's just fire this thing up. Let's just get it going. Again, for the ones that didn't hear me, I have been getting frost seeding questions asked either by text message, telephone calls, emails, messenger, you name it, since probably the third weekend in November is when they started asking if it was too early to frost seed. And yes, I said the third weekend in November. The reason I know that, because I was sitting in a deer blind deer hunting our first gun season when I received that text message. But what I have noticed over the last quite a few years, now I personally myself have been frost seeding probably for every bit of probably 20 years, probably. I don't do it every year, and I'll tell you why. But what I have found with frost seeding, I actually do my frost seeding when there is no frost. So it's actually called overseeding, which we'll get to that as well. But you hear it all the time. You see it all the time. You pull up Facebook. I can probably get on my phone right now and pull up Facebook, and there's somebody showing somebody frost seeding over 2 foot of snow. I'd almost bet I can find it. I'd almost bet money on it. Now, clover will lay there dormant. Most of the stuff you're going to frost seed is going to be either alfalfa, clover, stuff like that. Them seeds will lay there dormant. They will not go bad. They won't rot. They won't bust. But what you have there is a seed that will not germinate until that ground temp hits that 50 to 55 degree mark. So why put it in any earlier than you have to? That's kind of my thing. Why do it earlier than you have to? Because if we have time to do it now, we have time to do it later usually. Now with me, what I see the most of, and what kills me to see, and you've heard it for years, go right over the snow, frost seed over the snow, man, it's going to be perfect. Well, you got a couple things to look at there. Number one is if you're in an area that you have a lot of snow, and you get a lot of snow. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of you places right now that normally have snow don't have any. But if you have a hard snow, and I don't care if it's only 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, that ground is froze underneath. So you go out there 1st of February, 6 inches of snow on the ground. You broadcast your seed over that snow. It looks pretty, that orange trophy clover seed or that game changer clover seed laying right over top of that snow. And all of a sudden you get a warm up like we just did from -10 to 65 degrees in 1 week. And you get a flood of that snow melting. Now, if you're in any kind of area that isn't flat, 90% of that seed is going to run off with the water because the ground is still froze underneath of it. It can't suck it in. So that seed's going to disappear. Yes, you'll get some to stick. Some will find a crack or crevice somewhere in that frozen ground before that top layer starts thawing out. But the reason the water is standing in that plot is because it has nowhere to go. So that seed's sitting there in all that flooded water. And then the cold spell comes in, then you get a freeze on it. So why take the chance of losing money by planting too early? The best time ever to plant clover as a frost seeding type application is you want to get that soil to start thawing out. You start seeing that top layer of that soil starting to thaw out, and then you're freezing up at night. That is prime time. So you want that freeze at night, that thaw during the day. That's what's going to suck that seed into that soil, and you're not going to lose it by water runoff. So that is if I'm going to frost seed, that's when I'm going to frost seed. Again, I don't frost seed, I overseed. But if I was going to frost seed, that's when I would do it. I've done it many a times in the past before I started realizing that I was actually hurting my food plot. That's another thing coming up. So for a plot that's not existing, you just got to let's just say you got a honey hole plot that the deer are completely destroyed since last fall. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to overseed it with clover, because I want that clover over that honey hole plot, because it's going to pull nitrogen from the atmosphere. It's going to store it in the soil. It's going to build the soil, feed the deer, and then come fall, late summer, I want to work it under, and then I'm going to plant my honey hole back, or my slam dunk, whatever I'm rotating it with, that loves nitrogen, and all that nitrogen that clover put into that ground, them plants are going to thrive on. So let's just say we got a honey hole plot that we're going to get in there and we're going to overseed clover in. Take trophy clover out there. Look at what you got there for acreage. Put the proper amount on, and actually, here we go. Depending on when you do it, if you're doing it too early, yeah, you're probably going to put a little bit more on than what you should. But if you're going in there at the right time, you go right in there, put the seed on when it's freezing at night, thawing during the day, you're good to go. So just let Mother Nature take it from there, wait for the ground temps to come up, see what you got for a crop coming up. Now for an existing plot, you got a trophy clover plot there. And here's what I meant earlier when I said that I found out that I was actually hurting my plots. I was going in many years ago, many moons ago, and I was overseeding clover into my clover that I didn't need to. I'm taking trophy clover mix, which you're looking at a good 6 to 7 year growth, a full growth. And I'm going into these plots and I'm overseeding clover into it, and I didn't need to, because I was smothering it out. As soon as that plot started greening up and growing good, I started noticing I'm not getting the growth that I should be getting. These plants are stunned. The plants are too thick. I got way too much clover on these plots. That's when I started going into what I call my overseeding. I don't frost seed anymore. I overseed an existing plot. I will go in. I will wait till spring green up comes in. Spring green up comes in. You still got all the rain. You got the good weather, and the stuff's starting to green up. You're going to start seeing them clovers come back to life. They're starting to grow. Then you can see your thin spots or your bare spots and go in there by hand and overseed into the spots that need to be done. So the worst thing ever to do, and you've heard me say it a million times, never overseed a food plot with more seed than what the recommended rate is. That's the worst thing you can ever do. I don't care if you're planting corn, beans, radishes, turnips, clover, alfalfa, chicory. I don't care what you're planting. The worst thing you can do is overseed a plot with too much seed. So overseeding them food plots, or frost seeding them food plots that are already existing, you could actually be hurting yourself. And one thing I have noticed that, I don't want to say this to make it not sound stupid, because it could sound stupid in a hurry. Any of you got shrubs in your front yard? Okay. Shrubs that you got to go out there every year and you got to trim back. Take your hedge trimmers, trim them back. You get too far back in that tree, or you trim them, and then you reach into that outside green growth and you pull it back. Everything's dead inside, or it's just an empty hole inside. Nothing's living inside. Your green growth's on the outside, nothing on the inside. You ever go to a clover plot that is overseeded too thick? You got this big, beautiful looking plot sitting out there that's only probably this tall, which should be this tall, but it's this tall. And you go back there and you start feathering it back, and you'll see all this other growth underneath. There's nothing there. It's dead. There's no ground growth. There's no nothing. You just got these bigger, tall plants sticking out. They're starving for nutrition, just like them trees are, them shrubs that are too thick. When you cut them back, they start getting air into them. So you're pretty much thinning that tree out to get more growth on the inside, just like you have on the outside. You take clover or alfalfa and you plant it too thick, especially forage clovers, the great big tall forage clovers with leaves about the size of your palms. You take them and you stun them down, that undergrowth, there's nothing there. You want undergrowth. That's why if you look at trophy clover mix, and you hear it all the time, why am I going to use trophy clover mix? All I got to do is just go to the local feed mill. I'll buy this clover, that clover, this clover, and that clover, and put it all in there. Well, next thing you know, they're putting all forage clovers in. They're all the same growth of plant. You want different stage plants in there. That's why we pick the seed varieties that we do, because we want the shorter plants, we want the medium plants, we want the taller plants. You want all the growth you can get. How many times you see a deer stick its head down into a plant, past what you think it should be eating, because it's eating the more lesser growth that's inside that. If you overseed something too heavy or frost seed something in there too heavy, you're losing that. It's killing that inside of that plot out. You just got it. You think it's a beautiful plot till you start feathering it back, or you go mow it. And all of a sudden you mow it and you're like, holy cow, this plot looks like crap. Look at all this stuff. That's why. It's because it's starving for nutrition. So always try to either seed light or go with the recommended rate. Never go heavy on that overseeding, because you're going to kill the tonnage that you could actually allow them deer to have by putting that on. And you're saving money by going the recommended rate. So no reason for just wasting money and not getting the benefit out of it, or the deer not getting the benefit out of it. All right, I'm done rambling for a minute. I'm getting wound up, so I'm going to see what we got here for some messages here, guys. Oh, John Seats, good to see you on here, brother. Jeffrey, 80 degrees in South Texas. I can believe it. Mike from PA. Can I start to lime right away after the snow melts? Buddy, that's one thing I'll put on top of snow. But yes, you can. You need to lime as soon as you can, bud. Get that lime in the ground, get it going, and it'll do very well for you. It takes that critical time to get it broke down. Now, and Rick's kind of Rick Stillman, a good friend of mine's on here, and he said that next 2 weeks looks good for the freeze thaw cycle here. Exactly right. Like we just had here, like I said, we were at -10 last week. This week we're 60 degrees. So we've seen that soil thawing out, which is mud now, but seen it thawing out, still freezing at night, thawing, freezing, thawing, and then it just got to pretty much a thaw. Now we're going the other way. We're going to start getting colder. So now it's going to start dropping down where it's going to be a freeze all the time. If you put your seed in there, you would have been fine, just because you won't have to worry about water runoff if you get a bunch more snow. It's already sucked that seed down in there. So you'll be good there. But you don't, it's kind of like playing cat and mouse. If you're sitting here thinking, man, I'm going to look at the weather, it's February 1st, and man, we might get a warm-up spell in the next 30-day forecast here, I'm going to frost seed. You know, you just don't know if you're going to get that or not. So you really want to watch what you're doing. Again, don't get in a hurry. There's no reason. I know, don't get me wrong. It's like deer hunting. We can't wait for deer hunting to get here. Food plots, I can't wait to work ground. You know, every spring it kills me because I just can't wait for the ground to dry up enough so I can work soil. But I'm telling you what, it's best to wait. I mean, there's no reason to rush it, no reason to put too much clover down, no reason to put too much alfalfa down. And I have found, like using chicory, I get a better stand of chicory if I wait and overseed after spring green up than I do if I try frost seeding some in. So, and I love chicory. So with our trophy clover, we have chicory in it. I always add some more. So I have a lot better stand, a lot better growth, a lot better germination rate by waiting to overseed after the bad weather has been here. It's thawed out. Spring green up's here. The plants are starting to green. The trees are starting to bud right at turkey season. 90% of the time, I'm overseeding my food plots, my clover plots that need it. I'm overseeding them usually after a turkey hunting set. So, and there I am in into April, 1st of May here in central Illinois. That's how late I'm overseeding, and I get better growth that way than trying to frost seed in. So, but Patrick McFadden, good to see you there, bub. But no, just try it sometime. Try doing a little overseeding method instead of the frost seeding. Or if you're going to do the frost seeding, make sure you wait till you get that freeze at night, thaw during the day. It's going to give you the best results on that part of it. Don't get in a hurry. I know I keep preaching this, but just slow down. We got all the time in the world. That ground temp has to hit that 50, 55 degree mark before anything's going to happen to that clover anyway. So no reason letting it sit there any longer than it has to. Again, for 99% of us, if we can do it now, we can wait another month or so to do it. So we'll have the time to get it done. Rick Stillman saying, I have 5 acres of CRP that needs its maintenance seeding. Medium red clover this time around. I'll mix it with lime to make and keep the rate thin. Absolutely. Yep. Mixing it with lime will work out really well, bud. See if I'm missing anybody here real quick. Jeffrey's asking if I frost seed anything other than clover or overseed anything other than clover. Springtime, you're looking at your clovers, your alfalfas. I won't do it real early, but again, like when I'm overseeding, I'll mix some chicory right in with it, or plant my chicory plots there when that spring green up time's coming along. But now when you say overseeding, you can actually overseed into a plot, even like in the fall, like our honey hole, stuff like that. If you plant a plot and you got some bare spots out there, you can overseed right into it on them bare spots. Just go out there by hand, overseed into them, hopefully right before a rain. Now, if it's anything like we've had the last 10 years, we got a drought every fall, but it'll work out very well. Mark Coleman, overseeding has 2 meanings: too much seed, gap filling in bold spots. Just wanted to call that out. I do like you do wait for the growth and overseed. Yep, that's exactly right, Mark. I mean, that is what I have found in all my years of planting clover has been probably the most successful I've ever been, as in a frost seeding or overseeding type deal, is waiting till that spring green up, especially on my existing plots. I do not want to thicken them up too much. I don't want to stun them plots out, because I'll tell you what, I have set over a clover plot for 30 years deer hunting. I killed 90% of my deer off of clover, trophy clover mix. And I sat there in the fall in December going, holy cow, they destroyed this plot. I might have to work this plot up come April, May, because they have destroyed it. And come spring green up, it's a big, beautiful, prettiest green plot come up out of the ground that you ever seen. That's what kind of throws you. You really got to study that and see how that is. Just because it looks bad doesn't mean it's not going to be there, because that root system is developed. So I always love waiting to see that spring green up come in before I go in and put anything else down. Jeff overseed a brand new plot last spring. Took forever to get started, but it turned out into the best clover I've ever planted. Yep, absolutely, bud. Doug Lamb's asking, which blend would you recommend for frost seeding? Well, here's what you have. You have, like with us, our trophy clover mix. We got our game changer clover. We got our Booner Buffet. The game changer clover, and Doug, this is actually a very good question because I've been getting this. I shouldn't say I've been getting this question. I've been reading comments of people actually planning the wrong thing for the application they got. So thanks for asking that question. You look at the trophy clover mix. It needs a very good sun. It needs a very good soil pH. So you got to get that pH in that soil up. You got to get a good sun on that. You're looking 5, 6, 7 hours a day, 5 hours minimum a day. It doesn't grow as well in sandier soils. So where a game changer clover grows very well in a shaded area, very well in a low pH area, and very well in sandier soil. Now, the better the soil, the higher the pH, the more sun it gets, the more tonnage you're going to have out of that grow out of the plant. But it will grow in that lower pH, lower sun, sandier soil where the trophy clover will not thrive at all in. Now, the Booner Buffet. Booner Buffet is alfalfa, 2 different varieties of premium alfalfa, 1 variety of clover, where the clover is going to do good. The premium alfalfa is very, very finicky. If anybody's ever tried planting a premium alfalfa, you got to have that soil just right, that pH just right, just like you do for the trophy clover mix. But you might not get a bit of it to grow if it's not. So I try steering away from frost seeding premium alfalfas. Regular old alfalfa, you frost seed it all day long. But the premium stuff, since it is so expensive, I like waiting until I can work the soil, get in there, and plant it. Now, with clover alfalfa on existing plot, you cannot overseed alfalfa on top of alfalfa that's over 12 months old. So it has a toxin to it. It will not allow the plants to germinate, the seeds to germinate. So you do not want to try to overseed alfalfa on the alfalfa. You have to work that plot up. If you want to thicken it, you got to work that plot up and plant again. Just because of that toxin, it will not let that seed germinate, and you're just wasting a lot of money with some premium alfalfa, or any alfalfa, I should say, not just premium. But that's just key. Do not overseed alfalfa over an alfalfa existing plot if it's over a year old. So Timmy Lambert. Yeah, buddy, it's good to hear from you, man. See what I'm missing here, guys. Robert Haynes, applying to Mark Coleman. Asking what causes bald spots and plots. That could be a lot of different things. It could be in your soil. Now, if it's a bald spot from you planting, it could be soil related. Now, if it's a bald spot on an existing plot, it could be animal related. But usually, you're dealing with a soil type issue or something like that. If you do find a bad bald spot there, I've had them where I went in there right before rains and overseeded right into some areas on plots that I can't get nothing to grow and still can't get nothing. I found working the soil real well, pouring like clover, I'm pouring the potash to it, and I can usually get it to go again. Jim Reynolds, can I give you a call tomorrow? Absolutely, buddy. You can call me anytime. Jeff Johnson, I'm thinking about doing a separate chicory only plot right over a used up honey hole plot from last fall. Absolutely. Chicory is one of my favorites. I love chicory. It's got its certain time of the year that the deer will devour it. And usually for us, it's right almost at here in central Illinois. You're looking in that third weekend of September to the third weekend of October. They will hammer it. They'll actually pick through their clover to get the chicory out. Yes, Mark. Clover roots run deep. Depending on the variety of your clover, a lot of your forage clover, you're running that 3 to 4 foot deep on that root system. That's why a lot of people get scared when they plant clover, as in a regular application of working the soil, compacting the soil, broadcasting your seed, compacting it again, and 2 weeks later they're scared to death because nothing's coming up. With Mother Nature treating you right, it could take a good 3 to 4 weeks to grow that 3 foot, 4 foot root system before anything starts merging out of the ground. That plant has to have that root system develop before it will allow it to merge out. So I always try to tell everybody, if you're getting plenty moisture, you got a good soil, depending on the mix too, give that 3 to 4 weeks and you'll start seeing it starting to flourish. You're very welcome, Jeffrey. Mike's asking, how often do I do soil tests? Actually, I do them twice a year. Like all my soil right now, I was lucky enough to buck out, kill both my bucks here in Illinois by the third weekend of November. So the first weekend of December, I took my soil test for this coming year. So I have them done now. And then I'll go ahead and run other soil tests come the fall for my annual plots. So I'm testing soil every year. So now with my clovers, you don't see that much of a drop. But now you get into the Nebraska varieties, it's amazing the difference there is year to year. They will actually destroy soil. That's why with a lot of your Nebraska plants, turnips, radishes, collard greens, stuff like that, you always want to rotate them out no longer than every 3 years. So never wait. Try not to plant your Nebraskas. I like doing mine every 2 years, and I'll rotate. You can be all right getting into that third year, but I always go every 2 years and rotate in, just because number one, insects, disease, soil disease, they suck the soil dry. You really destroy that soil. So that's why you always hear about a rotation when it comes to your annuals, certain ones. Mark's asking, since some of us are patiently waiting, do you recommend putting out fertilizer now? I will put out my potash, my potassium. I'm not putting any kind of nitrogen base out, especially because when I'm planting for the spring, I'm not doing that. Get into your corn, stuff like that. Still a little early. I'll wait till closer to planting on that. But what I normally do with my clover plots, if I have to add lime, I will do my lime and my potash at the same time. So I'll go in this. I'll be going in here shortly. I do have 2 plots I need to add some lime to. Not a lot, but I need to add some. So I'll be go ahead and spreading. While I got everything down there doing it, I'll be spreading my fertilizer as well. In the fall of the year, I never like putting fertilizer on early, just because you're usually using a nitrogen-based type fertilizer for your annuals, and you do not want to fuel the grass and weed issue any more than you have to before you plant. So I always wait till the day I plant to be able to put my nitrogen-based fertilizer down. Now, when it comes to like our clover fuel, question I get asked a lot, can I spray that now? No. What you're looking at is a foliar fertilizer that plant needs to be in its growing state. So what I like doing when I do my overseeding, even though them plants they're back to life, they're greening up, I still wait for them plants to get a couple inches tall before I hit them with my first dose. Now, when it comes time for a new plot, say I seeded into a honey hole plot from last year, it's a brand new growth of clover, brand new plot coming up. I'll wait till that plot's about 3 to 4 inches tall, and then I'll hit it with the clover fuel. Tim's on here saying he loves him some Antler King clover. I do too, brother. It's been my favorite for many, many moons. Make sure I didn't miss any of you guys here. But kind of going back to, working with your lime, your fertilizers, doing them early. When it comes to our liquid products, our Plot Max, our soil conditioner, I mean, you don't have to go out there and put it on there now, but you can get out there within the next month and you can go ahead and, you can start as soon as that soil starts breaking down, the frost is coming out of it. You can go out there and hammer them plots with that Plot Max to really help break down that soil, allow them nutrients to get to that root system a lot better. That humic acid does wonders in these plots. So you can do that. But the fertilizers, you definitely want to wait till them plants are in their growing stage. Mark Coleman's asking me if I hand spread all my seed. Yes, I do. Even the biggest of plots, I hand seed because I can control it so much better. I kind of got a method with, especially doing clover. Number one, if you don't think you're putting enough on, you already put 3 times too much down. If you can see that clover coming out of your seeder, you're putting too much down. So what I've actually found, I love using a bag seeder or my big solo seeder. But with that, especially the solo seeder, it has a hand grip on it. And I can take my hand and grip it on that grip to hold it tight to me. And I can put my finger out. And when I put my finger out, when I'm turning it, I can feel that seed hit my finger. And I just want to very lightly feel that hit my finger every so often. That's how I seed my clover. If you get down, if you go through and walk through a spot and you stop and you turn around and get down on your hands and knees and start counting seed, you can see that orange seed. If you got more than 10 seeds in a square foot, you're too thick. So lighten it up a little bit more. So when I actually open the gate on my cedars, you pretty much almost got to shake it to get it to come out. I got it to just where it will just come out of them cedars. So that's the way you want to do it. You want to go lightly over it. Have a good one, Doug Lamb. Thanks for coming on here, bud. I have found, Mark, that a lot of people use way too much seed. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I've done it for many years prior to me being with Antler King and really learning the science to it. I thought I had some of the most beautiful plots ever, and I planted them heavy. I thought they were beautiful until I seen what a plot looks like with the proper amount of seed on it compared to what mine used to look like that I thought was beautiful. I'd have growth this big, and the properly seeded one, I got growth this big because they're not starving each other for nutrition. They're not, they're not stunning each other out. So it's just something that you just get after and you start watching, taking notes. But a good rule of thumb is hop down on your knees and just count seeds per square foot and just see how many's in an area. If you got more than 10 in a square foot, you got too many seeds in there. Nope, we got some coming in here, guys. Let me see. Got a few more questions here. Mike's asking if you have your pH where you need it, how do you find out what else your soil needs? Well, you can always go to a co-op and go in there, take a soil test in with it. They can tell you what's best for what you're trying to plant. Let them know what you're going to be planting, the varieties you're going to plant. They can help you out. But when we test the mix, what we normally do, if you look on the back of the bag, it's going to tell you what fertilizer is best and the pounds per acre that you should use. And that's how we test it to get the best growth out of that mix. So it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. Now, don't get me wrong. You may already have a good soil that you don't need, let's say 300 pounds of potash per acre. Let's just say that. Okay, trophy clover mix. Let's go with a 0060 at 300 pounds per acre. I don't know what your soil has in it. You don't know what you have in it. You can go and take that soil test and maybe find out you only need 75 pounds of potash. So it's going to save you some money. But in the industry, we have found that 90%, not 90, I shouldn't say 90, 75% of the people aren't going to go to a co-op and have their soil test done. So we always make sure that we put on the bag what we know that grew in with a poor soil that will make sure that it grows well for you. If it's too much there, it's not going to hurt nothing. And the potash and potassium, it's not going to hurt nothing. So you're just fueling them plants. But that is kind of going from a poor soil area, showing that, man, it took 300 pounds of 0060 for us to get the tonnage out of this mix that we should be getting. So our customers either going to have this poor soil or they could have better. So it just depends on if you want to do take the time to go do a soil test, see what your soil needs. Sometimes they scare you. You need a lot more. Sometimes, you might not need as much. So, but a soil test at a co-op usually runs you 10, 12 bucks. You know something within a week or so. But that's a good way to do it. Robert's talking. Here on the East Virginia, we don't usually get a good frost here until mid-December. And our season ends first Saturday in January. What do you recommend for me to plant? Doesn't need a frost to draw the deer in. Oh, if you're talking about like an annual mix that don't need it, you look at a lot of your brassicas, your turnips, your radishes, stuff like that. They do not get, you don't get the weather that they need to really turn them sweet. That plant will turn sweet as long as your soil's up and good, and the deer will hit them. But the weather does play a big factor in that. But you get into collard greens, like we sell collard greens all on their own right now. Collard greens is the only brassica that does not take a frost to turn it sweet. It is sweet from the time it starts growing. Now, with that being said, if you have a lot of deer, the deer are going to be hammering it early. So take a mix like the grade 8. The grade 8 would be a very good one just because of the varieties of food in there. Yes, there is radishes. Yes, there is turnips. If the deer don't eat them, there's 6 more things in there that they're going to eat. I'm sure the deer will probably eat some of the greens off of them if they don't eat the bulbs on the radish and turnips. Our fall, winter, spring is a very good one. The cereal grain. Cereal grain will work very well in your area. Good thing about cereal rye. Cereal rye is actually an annual that acts like a perennial the first year you plant it. So you plant that in the fall. That plant, instead of dying off in the winter, it goes dormant. As soon as it goes dormant, it's dormant through the winter. Then it will green up about a month before, 3 weeks to a month before spring green up, and come back to life and offer about 30% protein. And it's awesome for turkey hunting as well. So that plant will grow up for about 3 months. The more the deer eat it, the faster it grows. But then after about 3 months, it dies off on its own. About the perfect time to start working ground and replanting for the fall. So the fall, winter, spring is a very good mix for that. Dustin Gaskill, good to see you on here, bud. Rob's asking, will seeding clover into an existing fall annual plot after the ground has thawed out? If you're asking, Rob, if it's okay for it to be seeded in, yes. I do it every year. All my annual plants, all my annual plots, I actually overseed them every spring. If it's in a sunny area, I use our trophy clover. If it's in a a shaded area, I use a Game Changer clover, mostly trophy clover because a lot of the annuals I use need a full sun as well. So I'm using a lot more trophy clover, but I'll go right in there, overseed right into them. Like I was saying earlier, is you'll have the clovers are actually sucking the nitrogen from the atmosphere, stored it into the soil. The deer are going to eat the clover. The soil's going to get the nitrogen it needs to feed them annuals that you're going to plant again that same fall. So it works out very, very well. Yes, Pat McFadden around here, a good friend of mine. That's very, very good you brought that up, Pat. If you need bulk fertilizer, most co-ops will do a complete soil test for you, and will deliver a supply. Yeah, deliver and supply a cart for use. They do that. We do that a lot. So if you're needing bulk fertilizer, again, a lot of these fertilizer plants have a cart, buggy, whichever one you want to call it. I know we have some here that you can actually pull with a pickup truck. Then other ones are tractor driven. They got a PTO on them, but some of them are actually tire driven that you can use your truck and pull them around the field and they will mix the fertilizer up the whole 9 yards. You go to the co-op, hook onto it, bring it out to your plot, put it right on there. So, and that's what they do. They go off of that chart that they do off your soil test, see what you're low on, high on, all that. Then they mix the fertilizer that you need to bring that back up together. And you just go get it and put it on yourself. Or if you're like the big boys, you can just have a big old piece of equipment brought in. They'll spread it for you and they'll just let them drive down the road. But I'm not that lucky. All right, guys, got any more questions here? I think I rattled off about clover, my favorite thing in the world, enough. And yell at me if I missed one of you guys on here. I'm going back through and looking. Looks like I might have got all you guys. Maybe. But no, like I said earlier, don't go crazy trying to get stuff frost seeded early. You got plenty of time. Do it the right way. Hopefully Mother Nature takes care of you and it'll be good. John Seats, I'll see you here, and I don't know if that's a week or two or when it is, but I'll see you down there, man. But yeah, just don't get in a big hurry and do it the right way. Make sure you don't overseed with too much clover. It's going to be so much better for you. Just believe me on that. Everything I've learned by my mistakes, and I'm glad I did it because now I can look at a picture somebody sends me. I'm like, I remember when I did that. I can remember it. Oh, Robert, talking about giving any more thought about starting a club here. We're been thinking about it, bud. There's going to be a lot of things from Antler King this year that's going to be a lot different. Some new experiences, some new faces. There's a lot of irons in the fire right now, and I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to this coming 2025 right now. I'm looking forward to it. We're working on the club deal. This winter, I went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm just trying to find the right fit that will make it beneficial to the members and make it worth their while and in an easy way. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but trying to do it in an easy way so it's not so complicated. And when it comes to websites and all the stuff, it can get complicated in a hurry. Meaning, as in keeping track of things. But the marketing group and myself have been working on it. We're still working on it. It's actually funny you say that because we actually have a meeting tomorrow at noon, and that's part of it as well, along with a dozen other things. So, but yes, we have got a lot of thought into it. Rick Stillman, good to see you on here, bud. Yeah, I would, Rick. I'd hold off a little bit. I mean, I know if you're down south, that 70 some degree weather you had yesterday, I bet you was loving that. My brother was down there bragging to me, but it was only 5 degrees cooler here, so he didn't have much to brag about. Well, anybody else got anything before we got to jump off here? We got a couple minutes, and they're going to red flag me here in a little bit. So I really enjoyed this. I wasn't planning on starting the restreams right now. I was just going to do this one to kick off this frost seeding thing, and then probably start, probably mid-March or so, or late March, just because of the show season. I'm getting ready to take off. I think my first show I got to be out the 21st, and then I'm gone for 2 months, pretty much straight, except a couple days every week I'll be home, but I'm on the road all the way till second weekend of April. But I decided after tonight doing this one, I'm ready to just kick them off. So with our meeting tomorrow at the marketing group, I'm going to have them fire them all up. So we'll be doing one every 2 weeks on Tuesday night. And I'll get a schedule out and share it with everybody. And we'll just fire it up now. We're not going to wait. I can do some of these from a hotel room. It's no big deal. Jeffrey, yes, I'll be at the Wisconsin Dell show. Sure will, bud. That's one show I'll never miss. That's one of my best shows. Mark Coleman, good to see you, bud. Looking forward to seeing you in Indy. I'll let you work the booth, and I'll go walk around with Pat. I know Pat will be there. Yes, Mike. Frost seeding trophy clover in a grade 8 plot. That grade 8 plot should be 8 down pretty good. So the key thing you want to look at when it comes to frost seeding is just like any other seeding, seed to soil. So long as you got soil exposed that seed can get on, you're good. If for some reason you got a plot that didn't take very well, or the deer didn't care for it, and it's just a nasty laid down mess, then no, you're going to have to wait and get that stuff off there. But if you got good seed to soil contact there, you can definitely overseed over pretty much anything. All right, guys, we're going to get off here. I'll see you in a couple Tuesdays here. We'll get this all fired back up, and we'll see you then. I appreciate everything. Again, call me, text me, message me, Facebook, whatever you need to do. Email me. I'll help you out in any way I can. You guys have a good night. Take care.